we got to begin with the Bills' opponent here, the Patriots. They are 1-5 through their first 6 games for the first time since 1995. It's been a minute. There's a lot that's not right. To what do you attribute what's the biggest attribute to the struggles that the Patriots are experiencing right now?
Chris, 1-5, it just doesn't roll off the tongue when you say 1-5 New England Patriots, does it? I mean, it's hard to fathom. But when you're asking what we can attribute it to, I said last year when we watched them play, and we had them a couple of times down the stretch, I'm going to stay on the offensive side of the ball to begin, because defensively they've continued to be good even with the struggles. They're still, believe it or not, a top 10 ranked defense. So somehow they've managed to do that with Matthew Judon being hurt, with Josh Uche not being able to play full time yet, but still getting it done. But offensively, they have players you respect, but do they have players you fear? And that's where I think the issue is for them offensively. The offensive line shuffle, well documented now. All right. I think they've started 5 different combinations, or they've used 5 different combinations of offensive linemen. 2 rookie guards have been on the field a lot, in Antonio Mafe and City So. Left tackle, Trent Green's there for the most part, missed a game. They had to use Vidarian Lowe at left tackle. He's also played right tackle a lot. Riley Reif, who you guys know from various teams and a former first-round pick, has played guard this year. He's never played guard in his life before. He's had to play guard. The only guy who's been consistent and played all the way through has been David Andrews. He's taken every snap at center. So that's been an issue. Running it, Ramondre Stevenson, not at the same level he was last year, but we know he's capable. Ezekiel Elliott, we know how great he's been in the past, but they haven't had that consistency. Throwing it, Mac Jones hasn't had time to throw it. And then when he is throwing it, who's making the plays? Who's breaking things for them? Again, plenty of players plenty of names you respect. Who do you fear? Yeah. And if you don't fear someone in this league, it's really hard to get a defense back on its heels.
And if you continue down that road and you look at you haven't done the Bills yet this year, and they've gotten 2 games out of the blocks where they've been a slow start offensively. Yeah. And they're playing, like you said, a top 10 defense. I mean, how does this game go? I mean, if you're the Bills walking in there, you can't be thinking, despite what the gamblers and everybody think, this is a top 10 defense. It's gonna be a dogfight. It's a division game. They know you very well. The Bills have had a nice run against the Patriots, 6 out of the last 7, but rarely do they run off and leave these guys. I mean, what do you think this game's going to look like?
Steve, you've been involved in these so many times, right? Especially with the offenses you played with in Buffalo. How many times did you run into teams that just wanted to make it as grimy as possible for you, right? They wanted to muck it up as much, right? It's not just being physical, but also if their offense can do anything to possess the football, slow things down, limit your possessions, all of those things, that's what kicks in. The other part is, you remember last week, Denver and Kansas City on the Thursday nighter? And you remember early in the ball game, Kansas City drives and it comes up a 4th down. Instead of kicking the field goal, they faked it and didn't get it. I think part of it is just not pressing. Sometimes I think Kansas City was like, we just need to knock these guys out. They're not that great. Let's just knock them out. And you mentioned pressing before, Steve. I thought Kansas City pressed it. I don't know that Buffalo needs to do the same thing, because you look at New England, you've got them in a position where you feel like you have them out talented, but you don't have to go down there on your first possession. If you don't get a touchdown, all of a sudden go into, oh my God, what are we going to do? That plays into New England's hands. Because if I'm New England, you know how I'm playing this game? Like it's the windy game on a Monday night during COVID where Mac Jones threw it 3 times. I want to play that type of a ball game. I want that game close to the vest. I want physical. I want slow. I can't let Buffalo sprint out. And Buffalo, I think their mindset just has to be, we don't have to go out and make it a track meet right away. It can naturally take that aura on itself if we just do the things we normally do.
Okay, so with that in mind, flipping it over to Buffalo's defense, They are trying to kind of triage a situation of losing 3 players that were playing at an all-pro level over the last 3 weeks from their lineup indefinitely, in Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, and Tre'Davious White. Last week, I mean, they won the game for all intents and purposes against the Giants, did not give up a touchdown. And they're playing an offense that has had some similar struggles in the Patriots to that of the Giants. What do you believe? Because their run defense, Charles, like statistically, it doesn't look good. I would say on the whole, it's been pretty good against the run. They let these big plays leak out every once in a while, and it skews the stats. So do you think that this Bills defense, as they're filling in roles here from players they've lost, is capable of slowing down this Patriots run game that's going to want to carry them through the game on Sunday?
Yeah, I think they certainly are, because I think you're right about it, Chris, about the plays that leaked out. Like late in the game in London, ETN coming out of the backfield and getting a chunk play, The backs that New England we expect to present would be Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. They're not going to fool you a heck of a lot. They're coming at you, right? So you know what you're dealing with there. I think what'll be interesting for me is to see what the defensive tackle rotation is for Buffalo, because Ed Oliver, I think, is playing his best football. But how many snaps did he play? When people got hurt, can they continue to limit that a little bit so he's not playing 85% of the snaps in a ball game, and then you look up in December, January, and he doesn't have what he normally has? That's where Jordan Phillips has to fill in and play well. That's where Tim Settle has to come in and play well. They haven't gotten what they wanted out of Poona Ford yet. He's been inactive a lot. I don't think he's going to be inactive for a while now. He's got to come out and play. I think you're right about it. Some of those runs have leaked, but the numbers don't look great. But to me, if I'm New England, I don't have a lot of choices. I've got this offensive line that's unsettled. Sometimes the best way to do it is, guys, fire off and hit somebody, and let's see if we can possess the ball and get some 3rd and shorts and keep possession and make sure Josh Allen doesn't have the ball in his hands.
And your experience, and you've been around this game almost as long as me, right? I mean, what do you think is the cure for a team that has gotten off to a slow start offensively in games? Is there, and I know it's hard to generalize because every team's different, every game's different, every opponent's a little bit different. But the Bills still have a big engine under the hood, but sometimes they have trouble getting it to turn over.
Yeah, Steve, you're right about that. Each game's different. But you guys remember Al McGuire, the great basketball coach and broadcaster?
Sure.
I was a kid watching, and, Al was like must-see appointment TV because he had those great folksy, comments and different things that he had. And he had the New York cool that went with it and, all those things. I remember watching him one time, and he said, with certain teams, what you want to do right out of the gate is get touches. He used to call it, hey, I got to get touches for my guys. In other words, don't just shoot the first shot you have. And again, he wasn't doing Hoosiers, pass it 7 times before you shoot. What he was saying is make sure everyone touches and get them into the flow of the game. I think for the Bills offensively, diversification and touches might be a pretty good idea for them right now. Now, why that hasn't happened, I can't begin to say. But on Sunday night, 16 targets for Stephon Diggs. The next 5 guys cumulative, I believe, were 14 targets. Can we get more diversification? Can a few other guys touch it, make a few plays, take a little pressure off of Diggs, give Josh Allen a few outlets, and maybe they can start to zoom a little bit more, because weeks 2 through 4, there's a whole lot of zooming going on, wasn't there? I mean, points galore, yards galore. The track meet with Miami started that way, and by the time it was over, they couldn't see Buffalo because the defense took over and they went. But the last 2 weeks, as you've noted, been a little bit of a struggle out of the gate, and they don't want that. But I'd like to see them diversify a little bit more if indeed they're able to do so.
Right, and that's been, the headline grabber for fans and, the media here in Western New York, the slow starts by the offense. Meanwhile, the defense is tied for the lead in sacks, and Von Miller isn't even 100% ready to roll yet. He doesn't even have his legs under him yet. So, Leonard Floyd, Rousseau, A.J. Epinesa, even this young kid Kingsley Jonathan's shown some promising signs as a reserve player. And then Vaughn said this week he's starting to feel a little bendy again. I know they may not have a whole lot of opportunity to rush the passer this week based on the game plan you're anticipating from New England offensively. But still in all, I mean, this is a group that they look pretty intimidating, and nobody seems to be talking about them much.
You're right about that. And because the offense dominates, we know that. Josh Allen, heck, he's the cover guy for everything. He's doing every ad under the sun, and he's a phenomenal football player. So everything's going to lead with that. But at the end of the day, they may very well still be able to get a few sacks in this game, even with the game plan I'm anticipating. Because if they dominate them at the line of scrimmage and they have to throw the football, off you go. And I love that you brought up Kingsley Jonathan, because I always feel like when I'm about to say his name, I should have a comma after Kingsley. You know, Kingsley Jonathan. Because I feel like it's backwards, which we know it's not. But he's got such a regal name, but he's playing well. What do you have, 26, 27 snaps in a game recently, filling in when Shaq Lawson was out and Rousseau was out. I think that was over in London. But all the guys and what they're doing, and the ability now with Rousseau back, that in sub situations when you have 3rd and long and he can go inside and rush over guards, people can't stop him that way. And as you said, if Von Miller's starting to feel bendy and adds to the pass rush, because Leonard Floyd's been a house of fire right out of the gate, look out, folks. But it all comes back to me in this game, forcing New England to have to throw the football against their will. Because I think Bill O'Brien's going to want to take this thing and put it in dry dock, man, if at all possible. Because every time you give it to Buffalo, you're worried about what 17 can do with it.
Charles, it's always great talking to you. Good luck with the game this weekend. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you guys. Take care of yourselves.